before we get into it, is one of the guys you want to give a massive shout out to from Ireland, and that's Tony Boy, who's not very well at the moment. So get well to Tony Boy. All the boys are thinking about you back home, and hopefully we'll see you on the mats again soon.
Yeah, well soon, Tony Boy.
Yeah, he's massive supporter of all the Pedro Bessa and all the guys in Ireland who trains with Liam as well. So get well soon, Tony Boy. So, Ped, how's it going? What's happening?
Yeah, what's happening is like Brazil came to England. It's nice and sunny here. It's unbelievable. Since lockdown, there hasn't been much rain at all.
No, that's one of the weird things about the lockdown, isn't it? Is that we're all locked indoors for weeks and weeks on end, and we've had the best weather we've seen in years.
Yeah, unbelievable.
We can't make the most of it. So, Liam Boy, what's happening in Ireland with the lockdown, buddy? What's the crack?
Yeah, it's scorching here now as well. I think it's like 22 degrees, but same thing as you guys, right? We've got restrictions in place. Well, kind of more so over here at the moment. Now we're in our first phase, and we're moving on to phase 2 now. So we can go out about 5k, and then after that, I believe it's 20k. But look, we got good weather over here, so looking forward now to next week. Really looking forward to getting that back on the mat then at the later phases, man.
What's it looking like to get back training for you boys over there? Because we had some information that come out, and Neil can give us a little bit more info on this as well from the UK BJJ about return to training for elite athletes. So guys who've earned money from shows like Polaris or professional MMA fighters who are contracted to organisations. So what's the deal out there? Any news on that?
From our side over here?
Yeah, from your side.
Well, like, luckily, right, we've got they sent out a government document, right, on a phase approach, and to be fair, they listed wrestling specifically for phase 5, which is August the 10th, to go back. Like that's, you can't ask for better than that, really. That they actually mention wrestling, right? Because grappling and jiu-jitsu, that would be in the same bracket. The reason that is that there's an Irish Amateur Wrestling Association governing body that's supported by Sports Ireland likes over here. So yeah, we're looking at August the 10th. So I think that's where most of the clubs are going. But in relation to pro athletes and things like that, we haven't got that kind of scale, because we're missing that association that we had before. Like UK BJJ Association, man. We used to have the Irish BJJ Association, but that's probably something that'll probably materialise again. But, I hear you guys over there, Wagon. You might have some information on that about pro elite athletes, man.
Yeah, well, we made some progress the last sort of 2 weeks with Dickie Martin, who heads up Carlson Gracie in London. He's the chairman of UK BJJ, so he's been working with Sport England and Sport UK and going through the government guidelines in detail. So we had a meeting with some of the legal guys and the board of directors on, it was Tuesday last week. So we've got a really good case to put forward that athletes who make a living or earn money through competing on big professional events, they meet that criteria. It's not an easy process to go through. If you look at what they're doing with soccer, with football, and those sorts of things. So there's a lot of things, but it's looking really promising that if we can get it past the governing bodies and stuff, then as early as June, we can get pro competitors training. But if you think we've got Polaris and Grapple Fest, which are both televised professional events, which both pay their athletes, so that ticks that box. And then there's the guidelines on hygiene, temperature checks, first aiders on site to make sure there's no undue pressure on the National Health Service. Oh man, it's a massive ball ache. But fair play to Dick, he's done a really good job, because he's gone through line by line through the government guidance, through the Sport England and Sport UK guidance, and all things are looking really good. So we try and get some guys on the mats as soon as possible. And then I think for the rest of us who not professionals, then we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens, I think.
And Ped, how are you coping?
Down a lot to do with insurance cover, isn't it? Whether the insurance is going to cover or not. I think that's why the government bodies are pushing it. So the insurance companies has to cover it. So we all kind of would be meet the criteria or everything of safety and everything.
Yeah, and I think initially for the what they're classing as professional elite academies, they're looking at no more than 10 competitors per academy and no more than 5 coaches. So still a fair size chunk.
I can manage the training with 15 guys. I can manage with 15 guys.
Yeah. To be fair, I train one would be fine now.
Yeah, one would be fine.
With my kids is not the easiest, to be honest. But massive progress the last couple of weeks, so it's looking good. So hopefully we'll get some people training and competing again soon.
So the maximum there is 15. The max.
They said 10 players and 5 coaches.
Okay.
Per academy.
But then everyone's got to go through like the process of having temperature checks. They sign in and out. They go over member insurance, instructors insurance, DBS checks. Is a bit. To be honest with you, at this stage, I'll fucking do anything to train. Do you know what I mean? Is at that point now.
Let's be honest though. Any good academies, the instructors have got the legal checks, what we call a DBS. Yeah. I don't know what we call them in Ireland, Liam. Most instructors, if not all, are first aid trained. You've got your child welfare training. All that stuff's already in place. And all of us follow those hygiene standards anyway, because none of us want ringworm or stuff like that. So it's not massively different, I don't think, other than maybe the temperature checks. What was interesting is that they haven't stipulated that you've got to have coronavirus antibody checks to train. But that's something we're going to look into further. But that wasn't in the guidance from the government. But that's good.
It is what it is. So, Pat, how are you coping without training jiu-jitsu? What are you doing to pass your time at the moment?
Well, gardening, work on the house. It's a tricky one. I mean, I've got a bad hip at the moment, so I can't really train properly. So it hasn't been too bad. The bad side is I can't get looked at the moment.
Yeah.
I hurt my hip early in the year. I was still on the side whether I was going to go do the Euros and all that. So I was trying to get training for it. But I pulled my groin and then my hip kind of simultaneously, or same time with the week apart. And then I did end up, I went to the Euros, but I didn't compete. This way as the coach. And so, yeah.
So
I didn't really train much, but in a way, if there was training, I would probably be, trying to train.
To be honest with you, sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a break as well, even though it was forced on us. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes, especially when you're so active and you coach so much as yourself as well, you're on the mats every day of the week and you train. Well, I assume every time I've seen you coaching, you're rolling as well. So this is kind of a nice break, I should imagine, as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think sometimes your body needs a bit of a break. It's been since March 23rd, isn't it? So it's about 8 weeks since it happened.
Yeah, week 9 we're into now, I think, can we?
Week 9 is coming too. Yeah, so it's not that long, to be honest with you. It's I think in a way it's because it's forced on us, isn't it? Then,
that's the thing. Yeah, it's not a choice, is it?
Yeah.
So let's take it back to the start for you, Ped. So let's take it right back there. When you started jiu-jitsu, how you started jiu-jitsu, how did you get into jiu-jitsu, and how old was you when you started jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, well, that's a long story. We're not going to have enough time. It's a long story, but basically it was summer 96. Well, summer back home is winter here, so it was like 95 to 96. We were in my grandma's house. I watched for the first time the UFC with Royce Gracie, and it was like summer back home. My nana had this beach house that we would go there, and she used to live. She was retired at the time and living there. But summertime is like holiday season. She would go back to my hometown, São José, where I grew up, São José dos Campos. And so we had the house for ourselves. Me, my brother. My brother's 2 years older than me. I was at the time 13, and my brother 15, and we had like a bunch of kids staying there. And so we were maybe 10, 12 kids of the same age. And my nan had a carer that looked after the house. So she used to just make like big pans of rice and beans for us. And we would just stay there, like a bunch of kids messing around. And then we turned the living room into a big like fighting rain. So we were like, just messing around, scrapping. It was the first time we watched UFC, so we were just like in that vibe, in that sort of a, pretending, just messing around with the kids. And we got back to São José dos Campos, and my brother and I decided to give jiu-jitsu a go. There was a dojo, a gym nearby our house called Dragões, and then we started there. And at the time, it was teaching. There was a purple belt teaching there at the time. I can't remember his name. And he left, and then the gym owner brought a black belt from Rio, Marco Siqueira, his name was. And we stayed there for about a year and a half. But he had to leave town. He was a bit of a hustler, and he hustled some people there, and he had to leave town. He was a bit like that. And when he left, I was 15. I had just turned my first year as a juvenile. That was 98. And then we were not at that gym anymore. At the time, we turned my mom's house. We turned the front room into a dojo, a proper dojo then, with mats and all that. So at the time, we were getting kind of stuck into it. And especially me, my brother then moved to São Paulo, to the big city, to live with my dad and all that, to start college. And then we started training there with, then Careca came. So we turned this place into a dojo. Not long, this black belt, Marco Siqueira, left because of all the hustling and all that. 2 months rent he owed my mom as well. It was like, so not soon after we built the dojo in my mom's house, which was like the old dojo, old school. Like how we do is like a tire, use the grated tire.
Yeah.
It's like rubber underneath. So you fill it up, and then you get canvas, a big piece of canvas, PVC canvas, and then cover it all. So it was quite straightforward. Not much.
A million miles away from the kind of gym you train in.
Well, yeah, at the moment, yeah. Well, we were kind of like, the gym now is a luxury. Back then, it wasn't like that. Like, even
I think that's also because you guys have done an awesome job with Sweatbox as well. It's probably one of the best facilities I've seen.
Amazing.
As a gym and a martial arts gym at the same time is amazing. Fair play.
Yeah, I think here in the country, and I think around the world, is probably like...
it's one of the best by far, yeah, definitely.
But anyways, and then unfortunately we lost his house. My granddad had some debts and stuff like that, so he lost the house, so he lost the dojo and all that. And then that was about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months we had the dojo. So we were just training, me, Chuck, Chucky, Pablo, some other guys, Flavinho, the guys from that used to train with Marco Siqueira, and then we just kept training. And then Chucky did a dojo at his house as well. Not soon after we lost my granddad lost my house, and then we went over there to start training at Chucky's house. And then at this stage, we contacted Careca. We had some contacts in Rio, and one of the guys from Rio, Juarez Soares, is from Araruama. He knew Careca, and then he put us in touch with Careca, and Careca came down, and then it started the Careca Jiu-Jitsu in São José dos Campos.
And every time you go back to Brazil as well, you still train with Careca?
Yes. Most of the time, yes. Pretty much all, yeah. I always go there and see him, do a training session there, and yeah. And then Careca started small. It was a group of us, 6, 8 kids. I was at the time 15 to 16. And then not long after, André Galvão joined, and a few other guys. Then the club starts to get bigger, and then that's how it started. And then I got stuck into it, and Careca put us to compete. And with Careca was a different sort of training that we were kind of used to. We wouldn't do much conditioning. So when Careca came down, he started to implement a lot of conditioning training, like burpees and running and piggybacks, that sort of old school sort of a conditioning training, as well as the sparring round. Yeah, it was good.
And then, how did you make the transition to TT then from there? So like everyone wants to know the story of TT and the probably one of the best teams that's been ever.
And then, we were all training and competing. We're kind of stuck in competitions. As they got stuck into competitions as well, you know, in a way that trying to do the circuits, competition circuit, the state of São Paulo and all that. And I fought Cicero Costa a couple of times as a blue belt. And,
no way.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was,
how did that go?
That circle of competitions there. So we're doing quite well. And André, he started training. He was probably about 17, and then he got quite serious with the training. He decided to do as a sort of a living and stuff like that. Until then, I would train pretty much every day, but once a day, you know, one session a day. And then André started taking it very seriously and trained like all day, you know, because Careca would do like a daytime session, an afternoon session, an evening session, you know, yeah, and then I started training like do all the sessions, like give up school and all that. And he finished school, I reckon. As soon as he finished school, he would start training all day. And Careca started taking him to Rio to train with Careca's master, Osvaldo Alves, which is where Fredson Paixão was from, and a few other guys go jiu-jitsu school. Sergio
I remember the old Galvao, the old Art Suave video as well with Galvao, and I think he was like a purple brown belt.
Purple belt, yeah. And then I started training there, got quite serious and all that, and then Careca fell out with his old master. His old master started competing under the Gracie Barra name and wanted us to compete under Gracie Barra. Careca didn't want to compete under Gracie Barra, wanted to compete with wanted to be part of a different association. And that's when TT was forming. And then Careca met with Tererê in a competition, and Tererê seen André, and he spotted André, and he spoke to Careca. I'll bring him for a session for a training, and in TT. So Careca took him there, and then just, the rest is history.
The rest is history. Yeah, that's awesome. So then after that, then obviously training some Brazil and having that kind of Brazil. What made you come to the UK? What was the switch to the UK?
The switch is kind of when I started taking jiu-jitsu more seriously and looking more as a profession and as a job and as a way of living. I came to the UK first time because of my brother. He was doing a photography course here back in 2003, and I didn't want to come to the UK in the first place because there was no surfing, there's no jiu-jitsu. I was like, what am I going to do there? I don't want to go. But my brother said, listen, if you come here, you bring some surfboards with you, then we can go on a surf trip. From here is a lot easier, it's a lot closer. We wanted to go to Bali, so it's kind of on the way to Bali. And so that's what I did. I came in, and then he said, we can learn some English as well. At the time, I couldn't speak any English. So I came down for about 6 months and did an English course, and I was working between my English course, and I met someone, one of the waiters where I was working in a kitchen, washing up, kitchen partner. And I met one guy, one of the waiters, he used to train with, he was training at the time with Kevin O'Hagan. Yeah. So he invited me to go there for a training session. So I went after work. So I went with him, and then it's a different jiu-jitsu, isn't it? With Kevin, it's like jiu-jitsu, yeah. Yes, their Brazilian jiu-jitsu, their grappling was still very fresh. So one of the guys approached me, Steve Divine, and you know Steve. Yeah. So Steve Divine approached me and said, I like your jiu-jitsu. Can we do some training at a friend's garage? And I said, yeah, we can do a friend's garage. No problem. And this friend of Steve was Jess Watley from Sweatbox. So he took me there, and then Jess Watley also wanted to train with me. So a few guys wanted to train with me. We organized a little group of training. So I would do on the weekends, like between jobs and stuff like that. And with that, I was earning the same money doing one session that I was doing all day work. And that's when I started to think, jiu-jitsu can make a living. Because at the time, that was 2003, there was not much jiu-jitsu as a career back then. I was thinking at the time what college I'm going to go to, what sort of career I'm going to have. You know, I never thought that I would be able to live of jiu-jitsu at that time. You know,
But
it was a dream. It was a dream. I would love to. Like, it's not that, but being realistic and stuff like that with the sort of backgrounds in São Paulo and stuff is very little. The percentage is quite small.
But coming to the UK, obviously, where jiu-jitsu was just new as well. I remember the first ever time I met you. I didn't train with you at the time, but you kind of had that bit of hustle about you when you was quite young, and you could see that you wanted to take it super serious, because I was training at the Gracie Bar in Bristol, and I remember you turned up with a pile of competition posters, and you just walked in, sat down, and everyone was like, oh, this guy wants to come and train. I don't know who this guy is. He's just sat there. And then all of a sudden, when the clash finished, then you started handing the flyers out to the very first Bristol Open. Yeah. And everyone took a flyer, but everyone was like for me, I looked at that and I was a bit like, man, fair play. Do you know what I mean? That guy wants to do a little bit, like, you know, but not with any malice or anything. You just purely wanted to just promote your competition at the time. And that was like maybe 2005, I think was the first one.
Yeah, 2006. Beginning of 2006 was the first Bristol Open,
Yeah. And that's the first time I ever met you, and then after that, I ended up training with you, and that was the best thing I probably ever done after that. So, Liam boy, how did you first meet Pedro, and how did Pedro obviously become like a bit of well, you know, like
I remember that
out in Ireland as well. So how, like, being out in Ireland and then having obviously someone from Bristol to come out and be a head instructor and of association out in Ireland, how did that come about?
Well, there was a good friend of mine there, Fergal Quinn in Fruisley, and he organised a seminar in Shannon or Limerick. I think it was Limerick, with Tellis, and I think it was a full weekend. It was in 2005, and Tellis and Pedro were there. Pedro had a hair now like Napoleon Dynamite.
I
was way better than that. And so Tellis was there as well, right, Pedro? And I found Tellis and Pedro to be identical, you know, the same vibe. You know, Tellis is just so relaxing. Pedro is very relaxing as well. They did a great seminar. But over there at the time, guys, right? You know, 2005, to see a good black belt, there were seminars going on, right? Some, you know, my experience when you went to some, you know, not all seminars, but the majority of them, you wouldn't get a chance to roll with the black belts, you know. Then some seminars, to be fair, I remember Sean J and Solo came over for a seminar with everyone. Then you go to a lot of other seminars, and you might get some instruction, and that was absolutely great. And you might get a chance to roll with the black belts there, you know. And I remember, I mean, there was loads of guys there. There was about 50 guys there. And Tellis and Pedros in the end of the seminar, which is a common thing to do now. Every time Pedro used to come on, and just sat down with the two guys, with everybody, the 50 guys, and just went through 50 guys for about an hour, just rotate. And I remember, you know, experiencing that and going, man, this is great, you know.
Yeah,
this is very good, you know. And then like conversations with Pedro about coming over to Bristol, and he had Sweatbox at the time upstairs in Sweatbox, and I used to get the flight. There was a Cork, the Vomit Comet, right? Prepare to play Cork to Bristol, right? And I started then going off to Pedro and train.
I used to see you there on the Fridays as well, because I used to travel down like twice, 3 times a week. And we were over quite regular, to be honest. At the User Purple Belt at the time. We used to have some Friday sessions there. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I remember the Friday sessions and staying in the Premier Inn. Right? That was the usual thing. No kids then, so it was a lot easier, right? No kids then. You could travel, get on the plane anytime. I'm going to train. I'm going off to Bristol. I'm gone there for 3 days. See you next week. And then I started to bring Pedro over. We had a couple of weekends, and we kicked it off from there. And then I, at that time, before I met up with Pedro, me and Fergal ran like the Munster Opens just to get competitions, and then I went over to Bristol Open. I think it was the 2006 one, the first one that Pedro had. I fought there as a purple belt a couple of times, some great matches, and I saw what Pedro did there, and I asked Pedro then, we had a conversation bringing over the Premier, running the competition over in Cork as well, right? And then it grew from there. And to be honest, lads, right? I'd imagine you're all in the same boat there, right? Pedro's easy going, right? You could bring somebody over here, and that's important when you bring somebody over for a seminar or a workshop or a week training. You want to get on with them, Can't be a chore, right? And I could wake up in the morning, man, what the hell is that noise in the kitchen? And there's himself downstairs making breakfast. Do you know what I mean? He's going, come on, Liam boy, we gotta make some breakfast. All right, yeah, what do you have? No, you gotta try my scrambled eggs, man. And then I make lovely poached eggs. He fucking does too, man. And we go off then training with the lads. We'd go off then training for the day, Pedro would come over on the Thursday, he'd leave then on the Sunday, batter me from room to room with the rest of the lads, right? And absolutely great crack,
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's one thing Pedro's always stayed consistent with as well, is like keeping in contact with your clubs as well. But when he comes up, like rolling with everyone, that's I think everyone, like especially my blue belts and white belts, they say to me, "Oh, can I ask Pedro for a roll?" Well, go and ask him. He's not going to say no. Do you know what I mean? He'll roll with everyone, and that's one thing. Is that extra little touch when you're doing a seminar or workshop, and to roll with someone who's, like.
I only say no to one person.
Pardon?
I only say no to one person. That's Portuga. It's the same role. I know what's going to happen. I know.
Portuga, one roll. He's got one roll in him. You're gonna get
it's a fight to the death every time, Greg. It's a fight to the death.
Yeah. You're gonna get someone's gonna cut in that one roll. So Wagon, how did I've known you for a long time, and I that you done with Pedro. How did you? Because you was training in like it was like Mike Swambo, wasn't it? Cardiff MMA or something, was it at the time?
Well, I think I stopped playing rugby and I was looking for something to do, so I was training in a couple of different places, probably early 2000s, I think. So I was, the old Cardiff MMA when Mike Swambo used to run there, and then he had to move from Cardiff up to Abertillery for various reasons. Abercynon, sorry. So he was
not Abertillery. He's fucking out.
No, Abercynon. And so I was training Abercynon with Mike for a bit, and then I was travelling over to Falcons MMA over in Abertillery. That's where I met Andy Beaton and a couple of the boys. So that was probably, 2002, something like that. And I messed about there on and off with training, did a bit of traditional jiu-jitsu local and around the valley where I live. And then one of the guys said to me, there's a black belt teaching in Cardiff, a jiu-jitsu black belt, and there wasn't any at the time. So we traipsed down to Llantrisant, and I think the class was in the old Fight Academy. So in Darren Wilson's
it was in Darren Wilson's boxing gym. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So
I got a story about that as well before you finish, because this is probably one of the funniest phone calls I've ever had off Pedro, and I'll tell you this in a bit now.
So me and Chris Rowe, both of them, had gone down to Llantrisant, all excited to train with his black belt, and we walked in through the door. He wasn't fucking there. He was in Brazil. So I was like, really disappointed. Bear in mind, I've been training for a couple of years on and off. So Pedro's in Brazil. This guy's taking the class. I looked over and there was this blue belt there. It was you, Greg. So I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest. And then come to the end of the class, and Greg was, do you want to roll? And he absolutely destroyed me. And I was just lying in a heap on the floor. And I hadn't long finished playing rugby. I was quite fit. I'd been training and I thought I was all right. I wasn't. I was shit. Yeah. So
you and your Randy Couture sprawl shorts as well.
Oh, mate, I turned up with a tap-out T-shirt on, a pair of knee pads, and Randy Couture shorts, and I thought I was the business, Liam boy.
He was full
that was
in MMA.
Oh, it was full on, and Greg just bummed me for the whole round, like terrible.
That was the Monday sessions, wasn't it?
Monday, yeah. Remember Darren Wilson?
Yeah.
And he was
Darren's a lovely guy, isn't he? He's super sound, super funny guy, but his gym was used for everything under the sun, so it wasn't the most hygienic to be rolling about on. Like,
no, not at all. It was you never wear a white gi in our gym because it'd come out.
Ruined loads.
Yeah,
I had staff. Oh man, I had a staff cut out of my ass.
We're going to talk about how you had it cut out your ass.
Two assholes for 3 months, Liam.
How about you? How did you start?
How
did you start?
How did I start? So it's similar to Wagon, really. I was doing a bit of rugby and I was looking for something different to do. So I just started rolling with some friends, and then I kind of just thought this is something that I've never done before. So I wanted to take a little bit. So I trained with Chris Reese for maybe 6 to 8 months, something like that. And then it was the same distance for me to travel to Swansea than it was to go to Bristol. And Carlos Limos moved into Bristol. We got a story about that one as well. That's a fun story, Ped, as well. And Carlos Limos moved into Bristol. And I was quite naive at the time, if I'm honest with you. I didn't really understand etiquette, or I didn't understand what was what. I just wanted to train jiu-jitsu. I didn't really give a crap who it was with, how I done it. It didn't matter too much, But
you had to go with the world champion, isn't it?
Pardon?
Carlos Limos, he's a world champion, so
yeah, the Carlos Limos, and it was at the time where we had the internet, but we didn't use it quite a lot. If you know what I mean, we had the internet at our disposal, but I never used it until around when I started doing jiu-jitsu anyway. The kind of, and then when I started looking at people, I was like, fucking hell, man, this guy's legit, But the only issue with training there was sometimes you would turn up and you do a full competition class, and then sometimes you turn up and you're doing gun defense. You know what I mean? I'm from Arbitrary. I'm no one's pulling a gun on me.
You got your own gun, you got your own gun, Greg.
I might get beat out, I might get glass. No one's pulling a Glock out on me. Do you know what I mean? So, me and Simon, if you remember Simon, Valish, yeah. So Simon's a really good friend of mine, and we was like, oh well, there's another guy in Bristol. Carlos is not the most his continuity of classes wasn't great. Let's go and train over here. And we walked into Pedro's class, and that was it. The rest was history. But the one when we did walk into Pedro's class, he said, "You two come here." And we walked over, and he went, "Look, guys, if you're going to train here, you train here, and that's it." And we was like, "Well, okay, we'll train here," because we was naive. We didn't. Pedro could have been an asshole. We didn't know, but it worked out.
Lucky wasn't there?
Yeah, lucky was it. It worked out good for us. So we kind of when we made the right choice, But then once you join the Pedro Bessa team, then it's hard to leave. It's a great team, man. So we made the right choice in the end, Because I think if I didn't make that choice, I don't think I would have trained very much after that, because it was so sporadic at the time. I was training hard. I was training every day, but classes was quite sporadic in Bristol. So I think my passion would have fell out. I would have kind of fell off a little bit.
Probably. I don't think I would have been doing today if I hadn't gone down to Clantris in October in 2006, 2007, whenever it was.
Going back to Lantrisant, before we move on, going back to Lantrisant, right? We was in Darren's gym, and Pedro said, "Oh, I'm thirsty," so he said, "Go and get a drink out of the fridge." So he had one of these glass energy drinks, right? It's like a glass bottle. So Ped hit the top of the bottle, bam, just drunk the whole lot, right? So then I looked at the glass,
like a warning sign, mate, and all that. You know what I mean?
I looked at the bottle. I started reading it. Yeah, it said you got to drink a quarter.
Wasn't it? Something like that.
It was a quarter at the time every hour. So it was like a quarter then every hour, but he downed the whole bottle. So in the morning, I'm on the way to work, and I'm getting a phone call, and it's 6 a.m. And he's like, "Yo, Hippo man, that drink." Oh my God. He'd been running. He played on his PlayStation all night. He didn't sleep a wink all night.
Oh my god!
Brilliant.
That was awesome. I was laughing my head off.
Yeah, I was up all night. I drank that thing, and I was up all night. It was like a nightmare.
16 fucking
God
espresso.
knows what was in
Yeah,
it.
it was like basically like 4 Red Bulls on the head. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Brilliant.
Wales,
Jittering in prison.
Wales, and Ireland.
Oh, it was that was brilliant.
Tell me, you were a brown belt. You were a brown belt when you came over, right?
Yeah, first time, yeah.
Yeah, and then you were promoted the black belt, but you were promoted the black belt in the UK by Telus, weren't you?
Yeah.
After an MMA fight. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I came here August 2005, and I got promoted. Sorry, guys, just a second. Sorry. Oh, no. What did you hear, man?
I don't know, Siri. No, Siri did it.
We're having a technical issue here, guys.
Siri.
We're really on the podcast.
I'm a technical issue live. That's fine. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Right. We're back on track.
It's all good.
Back on track. Anyways, yeah, so I came to the UK after I went back to Brazil. I came back with, then I started my university, visa, was everything all right. And came back was August 2005. And then I went to Ireland with Teddy when Teddy came down from Brazil. He stayed here for a month or so. And then he gave me the black belt, I think it was the 4th of December, if I'm not mistaken. So it was probably maybe a week or so, or a couple of weeks after I went to you, Liam, when I met you.
But did you had an MMA fight as well, wasn't it? Was it London or something?
I had an MMA fight, yes.
Yeah.
Basically, Tellis came down, and we were training in London, and Tellis wanted to debut in MMA. He was already looking forward to, already looking for fights and everything. So he spoke to Manchinha, and then one of Manchinha's mates in London said, "Oh, there is an event in Western Supermare. Do you want to fight?" He said, "Yeah, I'll fight." And then he started saying, "Oh, there's one welterweight as well, looking for fights." Do you want to put him? I said, "Yeah, let's fight." So then he said, "Dude, you gotta fight." So I was like, "All right, let's fight." And then, so I didn't train much, like in terms of MMA. I was training jiu-jitsu. I was in shape with jiu-jitsu. The jiu-jitsu was sharp. Like I was brown belt, near black belt, competing a lot. So I was competing. Even when I got here, I was trying to keep up with the competition. So it was only like 4 or 5 months I moved here.
You've done some of the old grappling strikes in Wales as well, didn't you? As a brown belt, I remember.
ADCC UK as well. Some no-gi. There was a no-gi tournament in London that Roger Brooker used to organize. So I did a few events here. So I was in shape.
We got a question here about MMA as well. Yeah. He said, "Have you got any more aspirations of fighting MMA in the future?"
Me? No.
Yeah, you. No.
No, I don't know if I'm even going to fight jiu-jitsu anymore. Let's see how my hip goes. I need to get it checked.
And your MMA fight as well, so it might be a surprise to a lot of guys. Who was your MMA fight against?
Who? Say again?
Who was your MMA fight against?
Who it was?
Yeah.
Remember? What's his name again?
I can remember. Che Mills.
Che Mills, yeah.
Yeah. So Che Mills obviously went to the UFC.
He some big shows, man, didn't he?
Yeah, he was signed to the UFC. I think he's just exclusively doing like Thai boxing and kickboxing events these days, I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but I was lucky in a way. Not lucky, but it's never luck. But my strategy worked. My strategy was to close the distance as soon as I could. So my boxing was like that. Cover the chin. That's not my strategy. Cover the chin, hands up, and go forward. Close the distance. He came with a couple of hooks, swung some hooks, and then I just ducked and grappled and took him down. And yeah, so the strategy worked, and I managed to get a triangle in the first round.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So no aspirations to fight MMA ever again, then, Ped?
Well, to be honest with you, if back then, right, it was 2005. I was just getting promoted and all that. You know, was for me, it was not even a black. Well, I turned black belt on that same day, but I had more aspirations to fight jiu-jitsu at the time. You know, because for me, it was like I was kind of waiting to, you know what I mean, to get. It's almost like you're waiting. You can't drink and you're waiting, and then when you turn 18, you want to go to the pub and drink. It was always, I wanted to get a black belt. I wanted to go and compete, and you know what I mean, get the black belts. And for me, the most thing I wanted to do was the Euros, the Worlds, and you know what I mean, being able to compete against the best that were there, to see where I was at, and to try and win titles. And you know,
talking about fighting the best, back in your early days as well, you did actually have a fight with Carlos Lemos as well, didn't you, in the old Penny in London?
Yeah, in the presentation. Yeah,
I remember. Now,
because I think at the time there wasn't many tournaments here in the UK. There was only a few. Hence why I started the Bristol Open as well, to start promoting the competition and get more competition scene in the UK. But so with the Gracies, because there wasn't many, and the level as well, not the level, but the numbers of black belts were very short here in the UK, so very low. So most of the competitions, if you were going to see a black belt competing, would be super fights.
Yes, it was a super
fight between me and Carlos. Yeah. Which for me was great. My first year as a black belt, beating a world champion, even though the weight class was different. You know, I was at the time between. Pardon?
There wasn't a lot of difference in weight, I remember, at the time. I don't think there was a big discrepancy.
Yeah, I think he was at the time maybe feather. He won as a light feather. But I think at the time he was probably being a feather or light feather, and I was like between lightweight, middleweight. There is a bit of maybe 10 kilos difference, maybe less than that, but it's a world champion, so beating a world champion is always, a good achievement, you know. So it was for me, it was a good.
I remember at the time as well. It wasn't just beating a champ; like it was two clubs that was kind of in Bristol at the time. So like you had the Gracie Bar of Bristol, and then you had that was a new black belt setting up your own academy, and then you had a two-time world champion and some guy called Pedro Bessa. Then you had Carlos Lemos and you had Hodger Gracie and all these guys in the corner, and you just had Pedro Bessa basically on his own with a couple of guys watching him from who you trained with in the sweatbox and back in Wales. To fight under that circumstance, I think it must have felt like a lot of pressure at the time, but it didn't look like, for me watching, because I was there watching it live, it didn't look like to me that you was under pressure. I mean, but it must have felt like that there was a lot of pressure on you at the time.
I think pressure for me, it depends. Sometimes I feel the pressure, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get so focused on what I need to get done. I need to get it done and all that, and winning, and you know, that I don't feel the pressure. Other times I do. I kind of, to be honest with you, as a brown belt, I was feeling a lot of pressure on my head. You know, I can't remember of feeling much pressure as a lower belt, blue belt, purple belt, but as a brown belt, it really did get into me, because I was trying to make that transition to become a professional, and I think I was putting too much pressure on myself, and I did feel a lot of pressure. But then as a black belt, I don't know, that kind of went, and I started to feel good about it, and
enjoy it a bit. Yeah.
But sorry,
go on. No, you go on, buddy.
How did you cope with that, Pedro? Like coming to Bristol, not having, because you know, as Crilly was saying, right? You had the different wider teams there, with a lot of black belt training partners. But you at the time then, right? You would have had your students, you know, maybe a couple of friends, maybe Leo, Leo Prowers and the likes, right, to train with at that time in those early days. How did you cope and get yourselves organised there for training with your students, right? Because you didn't have these type of talents and training partners that you used to have back in your TT days, because you were still competing. I remember seeing you in the 10K organising or competing all these tournaments, semis a good couple of times, and coming back with great results. So I'm curious how you organise your training to get those type of results, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it was tricky. At the beginning, it was tricky because there wasn't many training partners. you know, or at least training partners on my level, you know, and still the classes were just starting and stuff like that. So it was tricky to find the training, but I had a lot of experience in terms of training. So I trained with Careca for years, so I used that sort of training method of the physical conditioning, you know, the cardio sprints, going up the stairs, up and down, hill sprints and all that. So that's what I used to do to keep in a, you know.
Yeah. So without that, without that high level training partner, right? You focused a lot more on your conditioning. Is that what you're saying?
That's one thing. And then I was looking for training as well. So I was doing like training other stuff like judo. I would go to the university judo club and train judo with them. I would go to a wrestling place and train some wrestling. I would go to where Saeed does wrestling here. He's Iranian and then I had a good wrestling background. So train some wrestling with him. I would train some and then jiu-jitsu with you guys. And then I was going to London as well once a week to train with Machine. It was part of TT at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was just going after training whatever I could find and doing a lot of conditioning. Even capoeira, I was training a lot of capoeira at the time because there wasn't much jiu-jitsu. I mean, in the day and stuff, there wasn't much. You know, only the evening. So in the day, I would keep myself busy with other stuff. Other training, either conditioning or judo or wrestling or something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, it's interesting because, you know, sometimes some guys, they want the results so quickly, you know, and they see, you know, okay, look, I'm not training with this team over here because there's so many black belts, you know. And then you hear guys just switching teams just like that, you know. And it's interesting to hear you just stuck by your guns, you know, stuck with your same team and still get the results. Like, you know, it's amazing work.
Yeah, well, that's something that I always, in a way, try and kept truth to myself is like the team I represent and the team I'm with, you know, for me is a big thing, you know, more so than maybe my, how can I say?
Your own training, maybe. You put your team before your own training, yeah. Because that's quite a good point you touched on earlier, boy. Because when you could have just thought, oh, this is too much hard work, you know what I mean? And you could have went to a big team. It was a big checkmat team at the time. It was a massive Gracie Barra team. Braulio was only in Birmingham.
Going to Roger Gracie and join them because obviously you have Braulio in Birmingham and then you have Roger. I think, back then I did contemplate about it and I did think about it, especially when TT went. TT is kind of stopped, broke down, whatever it was. And then there was no team for a while. Some people joined Checkmat, Braza, and then André Gradiato. Some others went to Alliance. And others stayed with Braza. Teles at the time wasn't very, he didn't know what he was going to do. There was no 9-9 then. And so I was a little bit unsure what to do. That's when I created my own club, Pedro Bessa. I started then, the Pedro Bessa Jiu-Jitsu after when TT went down. And I did contemplate joining other clubs, like Gracie Barra. I did contemplate even Checkmat. But I think if I was going to go somewhere, it would probably be Roger Gracie. But I think these days, to be honest with you, there is not so much there, or at least for me, I think because I knew Roger then, I knew Braulio. I think they would, I don't know, I'm saying here, but I don't know if they would be okay. I'm pretty sure they would be okay with me just going training. I did go actually to Braulio a couple of times. Even to
I remember back in the day we done like a little secret session, wasn't it? And it was a couple of
Braulio, yeah, you remember
a couple of high level guys there, and I walked in. Pedro was like, "Oh, do you want to come training on Friday afternoon?" Like you said, Liam, no kids, no plans, everything was all good. So I would just rock up with my gear, and I was like, "Yeah, let's train." And I'd step on the mats, it'd be like Pedro and Braulio, and I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah. Easy rolls.
Yeah, it's slightly different. I think nowadays the people mentality is a little bit more open, right? Yeah, people from other clubs are now training more. Back then we talk about 2006, 2007.
A lot of rivalries.
A lot of rivalries, yeah. And there was that old school mentality, isn't it? Like, you don't train with other clubs at all.
Yeah.
You don't, back then like that. You don't
I think that's something that has obviously changed over time. You still get your guys who are loyal, and I understand that. But on the other hand as well, you've got to be confident as a coach, and that's something that you are, confident coach, to know that if these guys are training under you, when they go and train, say, with someone else for a session, you're there, you were confident enough to say, yeah, go and train, enjoy yourself, and you know that they're not going to, like, obviously turn their back and just train back and forth wherever. And that's something you've always been kind of open to, is that training with other academies, as long as it's kind of not on a regular basis, if you know what I mean. But you can still get around the country and train with other guys, and guys will pop in, and different seminars with different guys from different associations. You've always been open to that kind of training as well.
That's right. By all means, I think it's good to experience other training. Otherwise, it's hard to know how good you got. Sometimes you got to go around places to realize what you've got,
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And I enjoy hop in for sessions, and my guys go and train in other places as well, and it's refreshing, isn't it, to see your jiu-jitsu as well compared to different styles, because every other academy's got their different style, haven't they, as well? So, but I think every time someone comes to like a Pedro Bessa academy, they always enjoy the training as well, and that's something that you've kind of instilled with, like, the old sweatbox days, training upstairs in our room with one window that would open that was fucking boiling hot. Breathe at the end of the session. To now being in like this massive academy where you've got Polaris wanting to use your mats so they can do the Contender series, and you've got all these MMA guys who got the sweatbox got like an amazing Thai boxing team, a great jiu-jitsu team. So to see you come from literally training in a garage to be a co-owner of something that is massive in Bristol and one of the best facilities in the UK, in my opinion, is brilliant to see as well.
Thank you.
No worries. And
I think I don't know. I think there is a combination of few things to get to where I am at the moment. It was probably being at the right place at the right time. In the UK, I think I came here at the right time, especially to build something up. Maybe not so much for my competition training, for my, in terms of performing competitions and stuff like that. I think that was kind of played its part a little bit. But in terms of building something and building a group, creating something and all that, I think that's probably, like I was at the right time, the right place. And also, like you said, sticking to your roots and to what you believe, and not going with what people say, or if it's fashion, or if it's this, or if it's that. I was just trying to pass on to my guys, to you guys, and to everyone else that trained with me. It was my philosophy of jiu-jitsu that I have been implemented and seeded into me from my masters, and
Yeah, they say like it flows downstream. Flows downstream. I get that. I say that to the guys now as well. Like, lads, that's how can I train here? Listen, you can train where you want, because Pedro lets me train where I want. Pedro will go up and train elsewhere, and right, but I know where I'm at. I can go and train other places. Because you're on the same boat, wagons, you're on the same boat, and that leadership comes from the top, like, and if you're open like that,
it's being like that, coach, it's being comfortable as a coach. It's being comfortable as a coach to say, I'm sure myself as a coach to know that if someone goes somewhere else, I'm confident enough to know that my coaching or my philosophy, and like Pedro said, the way that you teach is as good as the people that my students may go and train with, and that's just it. And I think some coaches are not confident about their coaching, or they're a little bit insecure about their coaching as well, so they'll kind of put a stop to them and say, no, you can't do it. And I think that's the wrong way to go about things.
I think this stops the progress, isn't it? I think if the students are able to go and learn somewhere else a little bit, they're going to improve. They're probably going to learn something. They're probably going to bring something to the club. And even if they don't, if they get better, if they can, contribute in that way, I think that's always good for the progress of the club, right?
100%.
Yeah. I just got another question there. Pedro, you've organised the Bristol Open a couple of times, right? The Premiers and Cork, right? So tell us, right? I won't get into that, right?
No, go.
Right? 40 hours, right? Medals going missing, all sorts. Matt's turning up 3 hours, right? But you've competed and organised in these competitions, right?
Yeah.
You know, as a black belt. Tell us about that experience as well. Organising the competition.
You know why he competes in his own tournament for? Because he doesn't want to give the money away. That's the reason why.
There was prize money. The back then, prize money was
Pedro's competing.
Yeah.
It was limited. There was not many competitions with prize money.
Yeah.
So,
right, that's actually right.
Yeah.
Do you remember in the Premier, like, that there was no one giving out money? But Pedro was like, yeah, let's do this, let's do that, let's give purple belts prize money, brown belts, let's get black belts, you know, we got 12 black belts in on a match. But tell us, Pedro, about your experiences there competing during these comps and the best kind of experience you had there running comps and competing, because you've done it frequently, right?
Well, that falls in line with one of the questions we got from, which is of all the achievements in jiu-jitsu, which one is the most memorable? So that kind of falls in line with that as well.
Yeah, okay. Competing for me, yeah. So me competing or organizing?
Oh, let's go with competing.
Competing. Yeah, for me there was a lot of memorable tournaments for me. You know, I remember for my first one as a yellow belt, 14 years old, competing. I got the guy in a triangle. I was working along the triangle, but then eventually I got the guy in a triangle. But kids are not allowed to pull the head down, so I couldn't finish the triangle. And then the guy managed to escape and pass my guard, so I lost my first fight. But then the following year I came back as I was 13, 14, 15. Yeah, I was a junior then. Then I won that year the ranking. And then I started juvenile. I was at the time as a juvenile, some tournaments I was able to compete in the adults. So compete in the adults like as a blue belt, being 17, probably 17, yeah. First World Championships I did was a blue belt in 2000. That was the first time I ever fought. That's when TDD won. Obviously at the time TDD was, winning his first black belt title. He was the main, one of the main guys. Him and Nino in the final, and he beat Nino in the final points, and it was just like unbelievable. That's when BJ Penn won as well in the featherweight. It was, being on that stage is like, amazing. It was amazing. Then I fought 2001. I fought the Worlds as a purple belt. 2002 I fought as well as a purple belt. 2002 I went all the way to the quarterfinals, and then lost in the quarterfinals. A guy that I had beat before in the São Paulo State Championships, but then lost some points on that one. And then my next fight would be Jacaré. And then Jacaré won that tournament. It was a purple belt. Yeah, it had gone through. I think for me there's a few, but I would say one for me that was very important was the No-Gi Worlds. The first No-Gi Worlds 2008 that I went. I was at the time I was quite I didn't know if jiu-jitsu were going to be, I wasn't earning money in jiu-jitsu. I was teaching classes, but I was earning, I don't know how much I was earning, maybe 200, 250 quid a week, something like that, in jiu-jitsu.
Traveling back and forth Wales as well. He was coaching in Wales at the time as well.
Yeah, I was coaching in Wales at the time.
Just at Sports Centre, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of and I had just graduated from the university and all that, and then it was a crucial time for me in my career because I didn't know what I was going to do. As am I going to stick to this, the jiu-jitsu, or now if I want to do a different career, now is the time. Right, so I was 25, and so I said to myself, well, let me go to the Worlds. Let's see how it goes, and then we'll take it from there. So I went to the Worlds. I went all the way to the quarterfinals. My fight in the quarterfinals, I think I had 2 fights, and then it would be my quarterfinals. My quarterfinals would be Pablo Popovic, right? But somehow Pablo Popovic didn't turn up. All right, and then so then I ended up, going with Pablo Popovic would go, which was someone I can't remember who it was. So I beat that guy, and then the next one, it was, and then I was waiting on the bracket on the semifinals between Lucas Lepre and Lucas Leite, and then Lepre managed to beat Leite, and then I fought Lepre in the semifinals, and then he beat me on points, 2 points and stuff. But having a bronze, so it was bronze medal. So having a bronze in the Worlds, it kind of gave me that insight. It was something like jiu-jitsu is awkward because you don't know how much money. It's not like you're gonna have a salary, isn't it? It's like you're gonna have to try and make a living out of your, your own. How can I say? Like you're gonna have to look for work, really. You're gonna have to look for places to train, or you're gonna open your academy. At the time, opening my own academy was kind of a far away. It was a dream that I wanted to do, but was at the time financially, it seemed very far because of what I was earning. I had no money, no savings, nothing. And so I decided to go to these Worlds to kind of make a decision on which path I would take as my career, and the bronze medal kind of gave me the kind of right. You better stick to jiu-jitsu and stick.
Give you the motivation to carry on.
Yeah,
that was a defining moment for you, so winning that.
It was the answer because I was like in doubt or which kind of a direction I would take in terms of jobs, and So I said to myself, I said, oh, let me go to the World and see after what happens, and then I'll see how I'm going to go. And then having the bronze medal, Pablo Popovic not turning up,
He must have had one of those caffeine drinks, man. You must have given one of those caffeine drinks.
Yeah, I was supposed to be him to meet him when the quarterfinals, and being Pablo Popovic had just won the ADCC, I think, or coming second with Marcelo Garcia. I can't remember if he won the year before or not, 2007, or was Marcelo? No, I think he won 2009, right? But anyways, no way I would beat him. And so it was in a way that so I beat the guy that was supposed to had a bye through him, and then lost to Lucas Lepre. But it was that kind of a how can I say we call it Brazil
kind of give you that push to pursue jiu-jitsu as a career.
Yeah, it was a defining moment. And then bronze in the Euros as well. The semis with Kron Gracie, that was a good
I was just going to mention the Kron Gracie fight as well, because
I remember that.
You went the distance with Kron Gracie as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
You went the distance with Kron Gracie, and to be honest, that's the first time, honestly, I've seen Kron look a little bit tired, because he normally got some good cardio, Kron, but you went back and forth for quite a bit, and he did in that fight. I was looking at it thinking, man, Kron's looking quite tired, but then he had to kind of grind it out. But yeah, you had to grind it out. Yeah. But you fought some massive names. Pardon? I was going to say you fought some massive names in jiu-jitsu. Obviously competing a lot through the circuit. What's kind of your wow moment when you step on the mat? Have you ever had got to compete against this guy.
Sorry, you broke down a little bit, Hippo. Can you repeat that for me, please?
Yeah, no worries. I said you fought a lot of guys in the past, so you names all around the world for so many years. Have you ever stepped on the mat against anyone and thought, wow, like maybe one of your idols or someone you've looked up to for the competition scene and thought, I've got to fight against this guy?
A lot of people.
A lot.
A lot of guys I fought, yeah. Lagarto was one of them. Like, I watched Lagarto compete with André in 2005. I was still a brown belt. That was my last tournament. That was the Brasileiro. That was my last year in Brazil before I came. And watching him, they did the open class final together, Lagarto and André. And it was like, and André beat him. And André used to batter me in the training. So I was like, and Lagarto, I would say, oh, Lagarto, he's amazing and all that, you know. And then in the Euros, I think that same year, when I fought Chrome, and I fought him in the absolute, and he battered me in the absolute, in the open class. He battered me, but he didn't tap me, so it was good. I went to distance, even though with the weight difference and all that. But it was something like, I'm like, wow, I'm here. I'm gonna have to fight, isn't it? It's like,
yeah.
You've got to, you know,
for a pound.
I'm talking about fighting and kind of your case to the in the Premier Open out with Liam, and there was a black belt fight. As it's Andre Ramos, wasn't it? And his fighter didn't turn up, or he declined the fight or something. And Pedro's been running brackets all day and refereeing, running tables.
That's right.
And he looked over to me and he was like, "Oh, Hippo, man, go and get me a gi. I need to fight." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "People come to watch a fight, so I'm going to fight."
That's right,
he grabbed the gi. I can't even remember who he lent the gi off, but he grabbed the gi after refereeing.
Boys, wasn't it, Liam?
I don't know who it was.
Yeah, I'm sure it was mine, man. I think it was mine.
Oh, no, this is now being at the venue all night.
Yeah, laying mats and running brackets and stuff.
But again, like
few whiskeys.
Yeah. No, and then there was the brown belt. There was the brown belt, black belt one as well, man. We did. What was that, Pedro? We put some coin down there as well. I don't know, we put a good couple of hundred down, wasn't there? Or was it 1,000 or 7 or?
Yeah, there was some money. Yeah, there was some money.
Yeah. So and then you won that one as well, right? It was a good one. Crully, you and me and Pedro fought in the same tournament in Cork, remember?
Yeah, I think I won the open weight black belt one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then you was bronze, I think.
Yeah. And
that was good because that's the first time I was nervous to compete. That one was because I'd never heard of any of the black belts. I didn't know one of them. I didn't have a clue. So I was kind of like, man, I don't know who these guys are. I haven't got a clue.
No, I know. And a different way.
All Brazilians as well, wasn't they? It was all Brazilians.
It was the most outside of the IBJJF commentary, the most amount of black belts we had at a tournament at the time. But I was in great form because I was just dying to compete, like, you know. Funny. It was funny, yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah, I remember that one.
Weekends in Cork.
Oh, yeah,
there's some good fun out in Cork, mate. We've all got a story about Cork.
Shane O'Donovan is commenting on you. Best night out after a seminar, Pedro. So I don't think.
What did he say? What did the say?
He said, "What's the best night out after a seminar?" I remember Shane when I come training out with you guys. He come training after having like a bag of fish and chips.
Yeah.
Just walked on the mat with a big bag of fish and chips. He's like, "Oh man, I feel sick." It's like walking on the mats eating fish and chips.
Yeah. That's it, man. That's where it's going, man.
It is amazing.
I remember the last visit, right? All the lads came over from Bristol, and we went out now as well. We did a training session, and then we had a good night. But I remember specifically putting in an extra drink for Pedro. I was thinking, tomorrow, no man. I'm gonna get him tomorrow. I'm gonna get him tomorrow. And we were all dying the next day. And we all went into training, man. And he battered me. He battered me. The two of us were stinking in whiskey, like, and I was like, "Oh my god!" You know?
Is that when Rory went and Scott?
Yeah. Rory was there.
Yeah.
Scott was there. Who else was there?
Yeah. Funny thing is, I was battered. I was the next day. I was hammered after all the drinks and all that, all those Guinness. And then Rory, he was like fresh. He was just after the night out, he was fresh. I couldn't believe it.
Was he? God, I don't remember that, man.
Yeah.
Battered, man. Rory,
The training we did, he battered me, and he was fresh.
Rory was drinking water for the whole night, the bastard.
No.
Nothing to himself. I'm going to get him tomorrow.
I don't know how he
He's so quiet once you go to watch.
The next time now, I'm going to go to the bar for Rory. I'm going to double up his whiskey.
We need a trip over the Cork when we're allowed, mate.
Yeah, we got it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I won't bring Gareth Cox with me though.
Don't take Coxie, for God's sake. He's a bad influence.
No,
Last time you took Coxie to you was going to compete, but then didn't end up competing or something, wasn't it?
No, I did compete. Yeah, I did compete. Gareth Cox, man. He made it the best and worst weekend I've ever had in my life.
Oh, see, man,
caught the flight over in the morning. I've been training a purple belt, I think, at the time. I'm training really, really hard for I think it was the Munster Open. Got to the airport, only me and Coxie sticks 2 pints down in front of us. It's like 9:30 in the morning. So I was like, "Oh, Coxie, man, I'm competing tomorrow," and then just carried on drinking all day. About 2:00 in the morning, he puts his hand on James Nardo, on the black belt from Combat Base, was with us. Put his hand on James's shoulder. I haven't even brought my gi. Amazing, hell of a state. So I got on the mat. I got armbarred really quickly. Nearly spewed and shit myself at the same time. I think it was one of Liam's boys caught me in an armbar. And then I just went back to the pub with Coxie. I'm never going to Cork with him again. He's a legend, honestly.
How Pedro Bessa students take their jiu-jitsu so serious, you know?
I think that was the same. I think that was the same night that he went out, and he met some chick, like, and she, or just the photograph. I think it was the night before. I actually think it was the night before the con. And we were walking. How was everybody preparing well? And Coxie was just sending photographs on his Facebook page or a form or something, but it's just him and some chick for the whole night. Like, that's how he was preparing them.
Legend, absolute legend. I was spoken for ages. I have to give him a ring.
I got a question here for you, Pedro. So, it's from Tom Turner. So, is your favorite moment as a coach? What's your favorite moment as a coach?
It's hard to describe one, really, because I think there's a lot of things as a coach that I appreciate it. You know, there's a lot of moments I appreciate, but is a funny one is when I get tapped by my students, because to start with, I don't like it. Right? I'm like, oh, damn, I got caught and all that. But then afterwards, you know, when I, start to evaluate what went wrong and everything else, I'm like, oh yeah, he did well, you know, so he's learning. So it's that's a kind of a mixture of feelings there as a coach when I get tapped by my students. In a way, obviously, ultimately, I'm happy because, you know, I'm teaching, the guy is doing well.
It's a testament. It's a testament to your coaching as well.
Yeah, and then, but on that instant that I get tapped, I don't like it. But I think everyone is the same, isn't it?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
That's a funny one. But also seeing my students being able to kind of take their own path in jiu-jitsu, I think is nice. Seeing you guys, you know, that I thought, and take your own paths, your own career, your own, you know. Building your own thing, I think for me is very rewarding, you know, to see you guys developing and kind of walking with your own legs, jiu-jitsu wise, you know, is really rewarding for me. You know?
And that's one of the things you've been massive on as well. Like for me as a student of yours, and then running my own academy, put any restrictions on us as a team. You can't do that, or you need to do this, or I expect of you anything. You kind of let us make our own way in jiu-jitsu and our own academies, but then if we ever need advice on anything, or if we always want to train and stuff, you're always there for us to give you a shout out and just train, or any advice on how we're doing things, because like you've obviously built up one of the best academies at the moment in the UK, and not just that, it's a testament to how many guys you've got training under you. You've got multiple satellite academies around the UK and Ireland, so it's great to see as well how far you've come as a coach, and how light-hearted you are about the whole thing, how relaxed you are about it all.
Really, really relaxed.
Too relaxed sometimes, yeah.
Relax.
So I think that's down to the character, isn't it? I think that's my. I think things. It is what it is, isn't it, dear boy?
Is what it is.
That's what it is. What it is. How many times, Liam? How many times have you rung Pedro up and asked for advice, and he's gone, man, it is what it is.
What about how many times has Pedro missed the flight?
Oh, I've missed one to you. I've missed one to Ireland.
Pedro's gold, man. Absolute gold. I'd be waiting.
Oh, Pedro's way beyond me. Pedro's way beyond me.
Liam boy, yeah. I fell asleep in Dublin. Liam boy. I
did. Liam got this ticket, right? With the Ryanair flight. And the Ryanair flight would leave Bristol to Dublin, and then there was a connection, Dublin to Cork, right? The Bristol to Dublin one was like something crazy, like 6 in the morning, the flight. So I had to be there for 5 in the morning, right? So to the airport, which means I would have to wake up 4-ish in the morning, to get to the airport by 5, to be in the airport by 5, and then, take the flight to 6 to Dublin. So I went to Dublin, and then in Dublin, I had to check in again. And then there was a flight, I think, to Cork about 10 or 9 or 10. I can't remember. It was a couple of hours wait. So I sat on the chair I went to where the plane was going to go. It was going to where we're going to board to the how do you call it? The gate.
The gate, yeah.
The gate. Yeah, I went to the gate where it was gonna where the plane was going to depart, and sat in the chair and fell asleep. When I woke up, the plane is like going. The plane is parking, reversing. The plane was reversing, ready to take off. I'm like, I went to the air hostess and said, "Listen, I need to be in that plane." She goes, "It's too late." We missed.
Where was your luggage?
But the luggage was in the plane.
Yeah.
They didn't take my luggage out. They took my luggage to Cork. My luggage was there. So next thing they realized the mistake they done, they booked me another flight for later on at night. So yeah.
But that
was a day trip.
You got into Ireland with no passport as well.
I was just going to mention Ireland with no passport. The only Brazilian guy in history that can get from the UK to Ireland without his passport.
I did. I was lucky, but I managed to get in. The immigration officer, let me in, so it was all good.
Yeah.
It was when tennis came. It was my first time to Ireland, and it wasn't without passport. I had a passport, but it was the outdated one. I took the wrong passport when I was packing. I took the wrong passport, the outdated one. Yeah.
And what about?
And that was it. And then I had to ask. I had a girlfriend at the time that used to work in a hotel. So I said, "Oh, can you get my passport and fax it to the immigration officer?" So she did, and then then he let me in.
And what about the time when it snowed in? It snowed in Ireland when Terray first came to Ireland, and he was coming in through Dublin, and I got a phone call. at 2:00 in the morning. And Pedro says, "No, I'm going to rent a Cinquecento or something, right? And I'm going to drive up to Dublin, and I'm going to bring a man down to Cork, right?" It was snow now, like 6 feet of snow. And 2 in the morning, I get a phone call. Remember it down in Crime, Pedro. Hello. Yeah, this is immigration. Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, there's a guy here says yeah. Liam Beechinor's mine. Yeah, that's right, Liam Beechinor. He says, He goes, right, you're outside the gate, yeah? And I said, no. He flew into Dublin. Pedro's outside waiting for him. And the immigration officer says, you're outside, yeah? And I said, no, I'm down in Cork. And he goes, how's the guy going to get to Cork? Well, I said, there's another Brazilian outside in a Cinquecento. He's going to drive him down. And the immigration fellow says, in that snow? And I said, yeah. He goes, Jesus, fair Christ. Fair play to him, lads. Drive on. And at about fucking 5 in the morning, the two of them pull up in this tiny fucking car, right? With about 6 feet of fucking snow outside. They were driving all night long.
Yeah, it was an adventure.
Yeah,
you've done some crazy things in cars as well, Ped. I remember the tire on top of the car when you left our gym, just strapping a massive tractor tire on top of your car.
Oh man!
And the worst drive in the history I've ever had in my whole life. When we got to Portugal, well, he turned up to pick Pedro up in car, Stephen Abley's car, and he just had a brand new like C2 or something. So Pedro comes out with a surfboard on his shoulder, and he goes, "Oh, where can I put this?" No way. So Pedro had this old little Clio that we chucked it on the back of his old little, on the top of his Clio, and strapped it down. Got pulled by the police on the way because you had some bald tires on your car or something, Ped, didn't you? I don't know. It wasn't road, that's for sure. And then the worst drive in my whole life I had when we got to the other side. He rented a car, but he rented like a little small Fiesta thing. So he rammed his surfboard between everyone in the car. It was 5 of us in the car. I'm in the front seat like this. Ted was driving with like his arm on the surfboard, driving. 3 boys in the black trying to like navigate on the bloody sat nav thing through bloody Lisbon. It was an absolute abortion of a day. It was the worst day I've had in my life traveling. and then we had to compete as well. It was an absolute nightmare.
What
of adventures.
And what about when he parked up in London and he closed down the London street?
I am near this one.
Oh, Pedro.
Yeah, that's when my car nearly got blown up, and at the time.
No, I have here. This one.
You remember Leo?
Yeah, you told me.
Yeah. I was going to Brazil. Right, I was going to Brazil early morning. So the day before, I decided to go to London the day before. So I rang Leo. Said, Leo, I'm going to Brazil tomorrow morning. What are you guys up to tonight? Shall we go out or something? He said, yeah, come down. So I went there. As I was getting to London, I called him, said, oh, where are you guys up to? He's like, oh, we're near Oxford Street. Come down by here. We meet up here. Then we go somewhere. And then, all right. So we got there. And then there wasn't much parking to park the car. Then it was my car. There was a little spot where like half of the back wheel was on a double yellow and the rest of the car on a single yellow line. And because it was after 6, we're like, yeah, that should be fine. Let's go. So when we came back to the car, it was about 11, right? And then when we were getting back to the car, we couldn't get to the car because there was loads of police barriers with the tape and all that, police, blah, 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 blah. So the whole square in Oxford Street was blocked. So we couldn't get to the car, physically couldn't get it. So I said, all right, let me go here. I'll walk to the car. So as I was walking to the car, got near the bars, there was a police officer. I said, listen, I need to get to my car. He said, oh, you can't because it's blocked. I said, no, but I need to get my car. I'm traveling tomorrow. And the guy said, yeah, but there is no way you're going to get your car tonight. You're going to have to wait until this is gone. There is a threat of car bomb. And I'm like, whoa, car bomb. Let me just get my car there, the blue Vauxhall there. And then the guy said, oh, is that your car? I said, yeah, that's the one with the go. But because I had my luggages on the back seat, they thought it was a car bomb. And that was, I think that was 2007. So not far after the attack in the train, the tube train. So
Oh, that's cool.
Brilliant.
And maybe not long after they killed Jimenez, isn't it, or something like that.
Yeah.
So, luckily, it wasn't me.
You should do.
So
got
many
there.
stories about Pedro and his cars are legendary. Like Dan O'Connell just brought here as well now, driving to Newcastle with a whole competition podium strapped.
Yeah, we went to Newcastle. I started organizing this tournament in Newcastle, and I took everything in the car. I had a BM as well, but the 3 Series, so it had a bit of a big boot and all that. And then, but obviously, it wouldn't fit the podium. So the podium, I put the podium on the roof, strapped it up, off we went. It was 5 of us in the car. It was me, Dan, Blanca, Scott, and somebody else, and Tad, I reckon was it Tad? I can't remember, but there was maybe 4 or 5 of us. It was a long trip, 5 hours.
With a podium strapped to the top of this car. I remember as well when we was trying to Liam boy, and he had his little going like just smashing the car as fast as he could, and we went past the camera, and we go past the speed camera. I don't really remember, Ped, and he goes, "Oh, shit!" He just keeps driving. Just keeps going. I don't think cars are your best.
We drove to Cork once. Remember, Hippo? You and I? We drove to Cork.
That's the time, yeah. That's when we drove. We got off the ferry, and we was driving, and we went.
You had the van with the gear,
and we went past the speed camera.
Yeah.
And you kind of just looked at the police car thing and just went, "Oh!" I just kept driving.
Brilliant.
That was a good trip. That one was fair play. That car was packed as well, surprisingly, with everything for the Cork Open.
Yeah.
Medals and everything, wasn't it?
Everything in there, medals, T-shirts, everything was in there.
T-shirts, man.
The time when we were talking about this before we went on, before we went online as well. The time when we rocked up to the Bristol Open with no mat. When the guy didn't.
Yeah, that was the mat got late.
English, did he?
The delivery driver didn't deliver the mats on time.
Yeah.
The mats got there. Was everything ready, and then the mats got there late. So,
Yeah. Guy got
We had
lost.
to
Trying to talk to me.
it is what it is.
It is.
what it is. No medals?
No.
No mat?
No, that never happened to me. I always had medals.
No.
They just got stolen.
We had some teething
Stolen
problems.
medals.
We've had a
That
lot
was kids stealing medals.
Yeah, that's what
That was the last
That
Bristol Open.
was
That was the last one, I was.
Huh?
That was the last
one, wasn't it?
Bristol Open. Kids stealing
That
medals.
was the one before. One
No,
before.
not the last. No, that was maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Oh, was it?
No, it was. I thought it was quite recent.
Not the last one. No. This last one was very.
Kids
last
taking their medals for show and tell.
Yeah, I think it was 3 years ago. The last 2 we had people on the medals. Surveilling the medals now on a regular.
Oh, God.
That's a bad state of affairs where you have to have guys survey the medals, isn't it? When you get young fellas come in and see the box of medals.
Yeah.
The guys watching medals.
You see, Wales is
That's
resting.
the
Nothing on Bristol.
last thing you expect when you run a tournament. Is kids coming in stealing medals like. Okay. It's hard enough, like, isn't it?
Like I said earlier on, we had some teething problems with some of the Bristol Opens. Part of them, when your Mac as well failed the 1 year. Remember that one?
Yeah, that was.
That was the worst one. That
was a classic one. Yeah.
I think that was the same. Wasn't that the same? Oh, sorry, he was breaking up, and yeah, your Mac broke. Was that the same one that you fought Monstro in as well? You fought Monstro £50 that you didn't want to win.
No, that was different one. That was different.
Yeah,
I did not compete on that one. I think that was maybe after I fought Monstro.
Yeah, that was the Bristol Open. You fought you triangled him as well.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Like Monstro's like, what is he like? He's got to be like 120 odd kilos, something like that, easy, and you're like a middleweight. Middleweight at most as well, and So Ped, so what do you see the future like? So just wrapping this up a little bit, what do you see the future like for jiu-jitsu, not just for like Pedro Bessa BJJ, but the whole of the UK and Ireland as well, and the clubs that you kind of oversee?
Yeah. Well, you see a lot of people coming out in the scene now. I think now with in the last few years, if I'm not mistaken, since 2015, really, the IBJJF started to have a lot more tournaments around Europe, around here in the UK as well. So I think the first tournament in the UK was the London International IBJJF one, which is important to have the IBJJF ones in tournaments in the UK, in Ireland, for the development of the sport, because that's where you're going to see the higher level guys competing, right? I think in terms of evolution and progress and all that, I think IBJJF is still the events to go for, because that's where you're going to have to train harder and train properly to be able to compete against those guys, and then going to the Europeans, going to the world, to get in level to compete against the top guys. So having the IBJJF here, I think, is helping a lot. And then obviously with Polaris as well, which I think right now is, if not the biggest, one of the biggest, maybe behind EBI, or EBI doesn't run anymore, does it?
No, I think, in my opinion,
not fight to win, isn't it? Fight to win.
This one, yeah, fight to win's big. But I think for me, as a spectator watching some of the Polaris events from top to bottom, prelims right the way through, is stacked. Is one of the best for me by far.
Yeah, I heard a lot.
It's a tricky one, because you see, like, of course, Polaris is what we call professional, because you get paid, right? That would be the professional jiu-jitsu scene. That's in terms of going professional, that would be Polaris is obviously the way forward. But how do you become professional? How do you get recognition? How do you get seen by the Polaris organizers? You need to be winning IBJJF tournaments.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
That's how you're going to be seen. Or no-gi would be ADCC. But then for you to be able to win ADCC, you need to compete in between ADCCs. Is only 2 years apart. It's only every 2 years, every other year, right? So you need to be competing in the IBJJF. There is no other way, that you're going to be getting ready for ADCC, and then consequently get seen by the Polaris, get that sort of exposure to be able to be invited to compete in the Polaris, to fight Polaris. I think the IBJJF is still the vehicle to become professional, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%. I think once you start winning events like IBJJF events by these big organizations, then to be able to compete on their events. So I think it's important to have them, especially in the UK as well.
Yeah. So answer your question, how do I see? I've seen now that there is a lot more IBJJF events. I think is great. I think you're going to have more and more people, competitors, and becoming professional with the help of Polaris and other events that will be able to spot the fighters compete in the IBJJF events. So guys, Tatami, that help organize Polaris, they're in a lot of IBJJF events, so they're able to see who is coming up, the guys are coming up and all that. Like, I'm pretty sure one of the examples, or two examples there, is Langacker and Fiona.
Yeah.
They both kind of came out of the IBJJF scene into Polaris scene and adapted really well, and now doing great in the Polaris, but also in their tournaments. Obviously, Fiona and Langacker, they're both doing awesome in the IBJJF events and outside Polaris. But I think it's just one of the example of I think that I see that's going to happen more and more. 100%.
And Liam boy, how do you see the scene out in Ireland in the coming years?
Yeah, I just have to. I would say I would echo what Pedro was saying. Like, if the students have an outfit like that, like like a more professionally prestigious run tournament, but also as Pedro said, where you could actually see the talent travel to the country. Like we had Espen there compete at the Dublin Open, and Lucas as well compete there. You know, just for the generation coming up into Ireland to actually see these guys competing on their home soil, like live, you know, and to have this prestigious tournament there, it's fantastic. And there's a connection there with Polaris as well, right? Because you know there's a couple of Irish guys that have competed in Ireland, like Darren, the likes, you're right. So yeah, the more professional tournaments that are run, and I'm not saying that, you know, that jiu-jitsu is just about competition, right? Because there's a lot of guys there that don't compete, but the more professional tournaments there are, but also the more professionally run academies there are, you know.
I think the academies is the important one.
Definitely.
Having that quality coaching to be able to give these guys a platform to be able to go and compete.
But also the facility, right? You know, also to have that facility. Like the one that Pedro has there, you know, show the lads that a lot, like, you know, it's inspiring to see what he has there now, you know, it's a fantastic.
Yeah, I remember when we done our academy, Pedro come up here and he was like, man, this is massive. Pedro, oh man, no way. Pedro's is fucking amazing. It's like, it's a brilliant place to train. Not just that, you've got everything under one roof, and I think that's what we all want, and everything under one roof. Strength and conditioning, your MMA, your Thai boxing, your jiu-jitsu, all in one roof. You don't need to go nowhere. And I think that's like leading the way. I think that's where jiu-jitsu and, you know, martial arts, not only that, but MMA needs to be for all of us. That's kind of the goal for everyone, isn't it? To have a facility that resembles what Sweatbox got.
Yeah.
It's how it is in America, and I love the gyms in America like that. But
like
I think it's a tricky one, isn't it? In a way, like, let's see if when you think about gyms around the world, the most successful gyms in terms of competition. I understand the academies is important and the number of students, but I think one thing leads to another. I think if you have a successful gym in terms of competition, let's say names, if you have like a couple of MMA stars and stuff like that, I think in a way that brings the students down and everything else. And I think it's still for jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And for jiu-jitsu, I would say 89% of the jiu-jitsu around the world, maybe 90%, is their income is through students, through teaching seminars or teaching classes, and you know, very little that can actually earn a living of just competing in the sponsorships and, you know, or prize money. So in a way, the future is, you have to have your own academy. I think that's so far, unless things change dramatically, unless jiu-jitsu go to the Olympics and then you access to government grants, government funding, and all that for the athletes. I think it will be having jiu-jitsu as having your income will be from teaching and stuff like that. That's for sure.
And that's one thing Wagon's doing as well, is like helping out with before we go as well, helping out with the UK BJJ and trying to make it like a more of a professional association, which is good to see. So, Wag, where do you see jiu-jitsu going in the next couple of years, especially being involved in the core part of it, which is UK BJJ Association?
I think, as you know, we've been trying for the last 6 or 7 years to get Brazilian jiu-jitsu recognised as an official sport by Sport UK. So, you know, Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, and Wales. As of about 2 or 3 months ago, we had the confirmation from Sport England, who tended to lead the conversation, that we're at the final stage, and that should open the floodgates for things like funding and support, the same as a lot of the mainstream sports can get. Obviously, COVID-19 is a bit of an issue. We're slowing things down. It's taking longer than we'd like, but hopefully in the next couple of months we should have some good news, and that should open the doors for a lot of academies to say call in as funding and try and push jiu-jitsu forward in the UK. That's all we try to do. So you got Pete up in Northern Ireland, James, myself down in Wales, Dickie, Simon, Dave Coles, Nick Brooks, you know, all the the different representatives from the UK nation. That's all we want, really.
That's awesome, buddy, and good luck with that as well. And I think for everyone who's watching as well, if we can,
it's important for the development of the sport for that to happen. I would say, because what you want is like jiu-jitsu athletes not relying on having to teach to be able to. Hold on a minute. Yeah. Sorry, Emilio's here, guys. Sorry. You need to athletes to be able to access to government sort of funding as any other Olympic athlete in order to make a living. I think that would be the way forward.
I think that's when we'll see the true scale of jiu-jitsu in the UK kind of reaches peak. I think when that happens, in my opinion.
If you see the difference between when I first started, 2006, 2007, whatever it was, to where we are now, and there's so many more people doing jiu-jitsu across Ireland and the UK, then I think it's just going to grow even more, especially with the popularity of MMA as well. So, if we can get BJJ recognised as an official sport, then it's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, awesome. And before we go, Ped, is there any shout-outs to sponsors or anything that you'd like to shout out?
Well, just want to say thank you to all of you guys for the constant support. You guys being with me for a long time, believe in my work and believe in my jiu-jitsu, believe in that we would get somewhere, and we're trying. Obviously it's never ending. So thanks for the constant support to all my students and all the guys that represent my name. For me is an honor to have you guys on board and be able to lead you guys. Also, thank you to Tatami for supporting me ever since. They guys been helping me with my competition career. My competition career is coming to an end. I never planned, I don't know if I'm going to fight again or not. Let's see how my hip goes. I would love to. It depends on my body, how my body keeps up. Little injuries and stuff. But other than that, Tatami has been great to me since the beginning. And a good shout out to Tony Boy to get well and, with good spirits, and Fokai Familia, Tony Boy, get well soon. And
awesome, Ped. And Liam Boy, shout out to any guys that help you out as well through the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Pedro, the main guy, to be honest with you. Anytime I'm sick, help me out an awful lot, giving me some good advice, running the academy, giving me good advice about students in jiu-jitsu. He's an open-minded guy, and I really appreciate that. And big shout out to the Fokai and to Tammy, who's always supported all the competitions that we've run here, Cork Premiers, Irish Open. So really appreciate the Tammy's support. And Pedro, right? Always done a good job, always leads by example. We always appreciate it,
Awesome. And Wagon, any shout-outs, any last shout-outs?
Just the same as the guys have said, Fokai and Tatami. Just repeat what the guys have said. It's all not. Big thank you to Pedro, and thanks for having us on, Greg. Nice one, mate.
No worries, but anytime. It's been a pleasure. And just to say before we go as well, get well soon, Tony Boy. Everyone's thinking of you, buddy, and it's nice to see you back up on your feet and firing on all cylinders.
Thank God.
Nice one, boys. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Nice, guys. Take care.
Take it easy.
My father told me when I was young, don't play with fire, be careful, son. But we were flames and fell